Hey guys, Kyle the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for One Piece episode 881. So, the episode this week, it really didn't have a whole lot of progression, if any. It didn't have a lot, if any, progression at all, and was really just a clip show that showed us that various events that Luffy has been involved in. Pretty much throughout the like the pre in the pre time skip portion of the series, and it's one of those things where I've watched and rewatched so much of One Piece at this point that I like to think I've gotten pretty good at predicting how an episode is going to play out just based on the preview alone. When it came time for this episode, it was one of those things where I was kind of already going in expecting pretty much exactly what we got, because so in that sense I really couldn't get mad at the episode because I knew what I was walking into even before, pretty much before the episode even aired. And yeah, it's one of those things where you pretty much almost kind of develop, when it comes to watching One Piece, you kind of developed almost this sixth sense in kind of predicting as to what kind of episode you're gonna get. So, and yeah, I feel that's kind of one of those things that happened to me in this episode. I've kind of grown a little complacent, I guess you could say. A little complacent at predicting it as to what kind of episode we're going to get just based off the preview. And in a way, it wasn't really all that hard to predict, I guess, when you just look at how little that they pretty much that they actually showed in the preview last week. So yeah, there's that too. Now, with that said, the main focus, with that said, aside from the fact that it was a clip show, I guess you could say that the main focus of the episode, as the title promised, was on Akainu, or I guess at least in the beginning and a small portion of the end of the episode. And just a heads up here, I am going to get slightly political in this part of my review, because at this point I am going to be sharing I am going to be in an extreme full disclosure on my thoughts on Akainu. So here it goes. And I guess you could say that my thoughts on Akainu is that, like everyone else, I've hated Akainu, but for slightly different reasons than most others. For basically everyone else who say they've hated Akainu, most of it revolves on what they did, on what Akainu did to Ace, which is a good enough reason, I guess, to hate a character. But the reason I hate Akainu personally is simply that his extremely rigid beliefs on justice really kind of piss me off. And it's it's one of those things where every time I basically get every time Akainu is brought into the picture in some way, I find myself on for the most part a completely opposite spectrum than him, in the sense where I am definitely a big believer. I'm a believer in a sense of upholding things like pretty much law and the justice. I definitely believe in those things to a degree, but I also believe that there is a definite limit of how far that things like basically upholding the laws and just justice in general, I guess, can pretty much be pushed. So, and I think, in most cases where in cases where a lot of people end up seeing black and white, I end up seeing a lot of gray. For me, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm kind of a neutral person in a way. But when One Piece ends up tackling a lot of stuff like this, I always find myself in that neutral gray area, to the point where and for that, and I think it's for that reason almost alone that when it comes to the series of One Piece itself, I always find myself I find myself definitely gravitating a lot more towards Marines like Smoker and even Fuge Itora, because with Smoker and Fujitora, the thing about them is that they definitely have that strong sense of justice that pretty much a lot of other Marines have, but the thing that I really like respect about them is that unlike Akainu with Fujitora and Smoker, they pretty much know what pretty much the line that they need to draw in the sand is. Like they pretty much know where that line is, where that moral gray line in the sand is, whereas Akainu only sees black and white absolutes. So I'm kind of, so I guess in that. So yeah, I guess you could say that pretty much and that's a good chunk of the reason, I guess you could say, as to why Fujitora and Smoker are my top two favorite Marines in the series, because yes, they, like I said, that they have that strong sense of justice, but they also have a moral center that they know that if they cross that they're pretty much going to become that if they cross that moral center, then they're going to end up becoming even worse than the monsters and the pirates that they've sworn to. That they've sworn to stop. Like they care about justice, but they also care about the citizens too. So, it's something that I kind of gravitate more towards, I guess, when it comes to that. I'm a firm believer that even in the worst times, you should never sacrifice any kind of moral center of protecting people over that. You should never sacrifice the moral belief of protecting people over stopping like criminals or whatnot. I guess is where I'm at, is what I'm saying. Yeah. But having said all that, like I said, the episode itself, like I said, to the episode's very little credit, even though there wasn't a whole lot that was shown of Akainu in this episode. For as little as we got, I will admit that I did kind of strangely. I think the episode did kind of strangely humanize him a little bit, but Akainu is still kind of in that range of being one of those characters where I still need more in order to really and fully get invested in him as a character, because from reading the manga, I think it's clear that basically Oda has definitely set Akainu up in order to dive deep into what drives Akainu to pretty much do what he does. I think that's basically a given. But yeah, I just really want to know as to, I guess I just really want to know as to what it is that pretty much drives Akainu, and I think we may have gotten like maybe a slight little glimpse of that in this episode, but yeah, I want more for sure. And like I said, the episode as a whole, it wasn't the greatest. We didn't get an extremely lot of progression other than what was in the beginning, but that little bit in the beginning is one of the more interesting, is definitely an interesting part, because we in the beginning we get the reveal that Fujitora is basically at pretty much the level E, and I just love how basically the guard had basically told us how Fujitora got in. Like with Fujitora, he basically used his signature logic to basically troll Akainu, which I found hilarious. Like good on you, Fujitora. You basically trolled. You pretty much trolled the fleet admiral with your own weird sense of logic, which again is something I can do nothing but respect about the character. So yeah, good on you, Fujitora. And the funny thing is that Fujitora, he wasn't exactly wrong. Like Fujitora, he wasn't even at a Marine base. He was at the Marie Joie. So you might want to think about being a little more specific next time, Akainu. Just saying. But even more than that, we learned that the third admiral Ryokugyu is there as well. So it was a little bit of extremely slow progression, but we are starting to building on the obstacles that the Revolution Army is going to face. And from the look of the preview, we're going to get a lot more of that as well. But yeah, guys, that's really all I have for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Crunchyroll. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.